Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. We are so grateful for you, excited that you're here or watching the recording if you couldn't make it. And we are crazy excited about what we're rolling out. Rachel has been doing her magic workings and we were just talking about how amazing it is and how I haven't acknowledged enough how amazing it is. So you're going to hear me. I think I'm going to spend the whole meeting just praising Rachel's work. But this is awesome. We think about you guys all the time, day in and day out. We're meeting with people all the time. Every day we're meeting with people and they're asking fantastic questions, and they're coming with things that work, and they're coming with questions and things that don't work. And so we are compiling all of it. We're creating this for you to help you get the things that you want most.
Right.
And what I'm most excited about is we're removing the unnecessary obstacles, because so many of the best things in life, with marriage and parenting and family lifestyle, are often unnecessarily difficult. And it's just a lack of systems or strategies or
awareness
or obstacles that can be easily moved away.
Right.
And today we're rolling out we're doing a kind of a soft launch, an unofficial launch for you guys.
We're unofficially
the
rolling
pre-start. And we're going to
preview the sneak peek.
The sneak peek you can start on right away, and getting these tools into your hands so you can start gaining the momentum towards the things you really want most. Whoa.
Yeah. So kind of like Greg was talking about, we do spend a lot of time thinking about how can we help people actually get the results, because when he works one-on-one with clients, obviously it's easier to help people get those results because you're meeting with them week after week, one-on-one. And so you're able to look at their life, tweak things, make improvements, make suggestions, all of that. That's obviously more difficult when we're not meeting one-on-one. When I'm not meeting with you personally one-on-one every week, it's harder for me to tell you exactly what you need to do. But as we've been thinking about it, we're like, there's got to be a way that we can systematize all of the things that we know that work, because it's been proven again and again and again, so that more people can just take the system and be like, oh, this is what I do. Okay, this, then this, then this, then this, then this. And it's all laid out. It's all itemized. It's all, step by step. So that's what we've really been wrestling with the last several months, at least. Well, I mean, longer than that, but more specifically the last few months. And that's what I am creating here with the 28-day challenge, which we're essentially relaunching. We've done the 28-day challenge before. It's probably been 3 or 4 years ago, and we had some success with it. Now, honestly, we stopped doing it for personal reasons. We were moving, and then, lots of things were going on, and we didn't keep up with it. But when we did it, the people that were in those groups were seeing huge results. So as we thought through this, we're like, okay, what can we do? We thought back to that timer, and we're like, man, when we did the 28-day challenge, it was huge. People were getting consistent results. So how can we take that and everything that we did with that and level it up and take it, make it even better? So that's what we're working on now. And essentially, we're going to walk through several elements of it. I even have some printouts, exciting, that we got printed here in Turkey on crappy paper, but that's okay. And we're going to go.
I know you don't have to have great paper to succeed in family life.
Right.
Now we have proof.
We have proof. We're going to go through this, and I'm going to show you exactly what I have here. I am literally so excited, like so excited. I'm also going to do some screen sharing and show you the back end of the 28-day challenge. And I'm going to try to give you a vision of ultimately, my vision is that when I'm done with this thing, this is going to be like a college course in family life. It's going to be that extensive.
But
Now I'm going to,
way more fun.
well, yeah, way more fun. But I'm going to build it out level by level, step by step, element by element. That's what we call it. You, marriage, parenting, family culture, finances. I'm going to cover all of those elements, and it's going to be amazing. Basically, it's going to be amazing. So I'm so excited about it. But we're going to start, of course, at the beginning, because that's where you begin, is at the beginning. And that's what we're doing now with the unofficial launch. And the only reason it's unofficial is because I am still in the process of building all of these steps out. I've been working on it every single day, and I'm going to keep working on it. We are personally going to be here in this part of Turkey for another 2 weeks, and I'll be working on it nonstop. And I'm hoping to get it
nonstop in between our trips to the beach
Well,
and riding mopeds
okay.
and no education and
Nonstop.
having adventures.
nonstop through work days. I'm hoping to have it completely ready to go by May 1st. Now, whatever I do have available to go, this is again why this is the unofficial launch, you all have access to and start working on. Because the thing is, my plan is to have a new 28-day challenge every single month. And the reason why, I'm going to start with this for a second. The reason why is this hierarchy right here. Now, all of this is going to be printable in the thing, so you can print out your own, you can hang it up, you can just look at it if you want. But there's this hierarchy of an extraordinary life. And each level is actually going to have 3 separate challenges. So you is the foundation, and it's going to have 3 levels. And then marriage is going to have 3 levels. And parenting is going to have 3 levels, and family culture is going to have 3 levels, and finances is going to have 3 levels. So what we will be beginning with unofficially now is you level 1, because that's where you begin. And then I will eventually build out month by month, step by step, all the different levels through all the different, I already said levels, layers.
Who's excited? I know I'm crazy excited. I hope you guys are excited too. I hope you're feeling it. Like this is what you as a group have been asking for. This is what we've been hearing. I had 2 really powerful coaching sessions just yesterday that were right in line with this, where they come and say, please, like, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question we get. Like, okay, there's all this stuff with family life. Where do I start? That's one question. Another one is like, hey, there's so much. I feel so overwhelmed. Like, this is just so overwhelming. Can you please lay it out for me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And sometimes we're like, well, here's the principle, just figure it out. And they're like, no, just tell me. I had one client say, will you please just tell me what to do and I will do it. And I'm like, let's lay it out.
Right, exactly. And so that's what we've been thinking about and talking about, because ultimately, as we analyze what we have done that's worked in our own lives and what has worked for your clients, it does come back to these basic things. And it's pretty much things that will work for anyone. So it's these step-by-step, very specific habits that build on each other. And so we thought, well, yeah, why don't we just give that to people? Like, here it is. Here's what actually works. These things, you do these things. And then once you can do these things, then you do the next level of things. And then you do the next level of things. And so it makes it so easy, because you're like, where do you start? You start right here. This is it. This is where everyone starts. And then the next one is the next level. So I'm going to actually go through this and show you where to start. But yeah, I think that this whole idea of these questions we get all the time of where do I start? What do I do? What is it? Just tell me. We're like, okay, yes, we will tell you, because from all of our experience, this is what just works. It just does. Whenever you have a coaching client, whenever you're meeting with someone, you constantly are going back to these basics. Every time he's saying, what about, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And whenever people are feeling off in their personal, their personal selves, in their marriage, in their family life, inevitably, without fail, it comes down to them no longer doing these things that worked when they were doing them. And so we're always like, well, why aren't you doing that again? Like, why did you stop doing that? It works. Oh yeah, you're right. It does work. Why am I not doing that? So that's what this is all about. We want to create this whole system where it's automated, it's accountable, you're tracking. Okay, well, this is when I guess I need to explain here a little more. The badges. Okay, so what's going to happen here? First of all, there's a lot, and I'm going to be fire hosing you. Don't worry. This is just to get you excited. You don't have to remember everything I'm telling you. You don't have to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is it. And now I'm on my own. No, this is not how it's going to be. Everything I'm telling you is going to be so clearly laid out that it's just, you don't even have to think about it. You just have to go through step by step. Oh, this, now this, now this. So I'm just fire hosing you right now with everything in an excited way. Don't worry. Don't stress out about it. But essentially what I'm going to do, for lack of a better word, is I'm going to gamify this whole process. So I'm going to create an entire course that you just go through. In fact, should I show them the course right now?
Yeah.
Yes. We're just going to get into it.
And I want to emphasize here, we're not adding to the chaos.
Yes.
We're not putting more on your plate. We're not dumping another bucket of overwhelm on top of you. We're actually giving you a very simple step-by-step. And if you need to take baby steps here, where you can just walk right through what you can do. And I promise the consistency, the smallest daily habits are the most effective. Actually, can I tell a quick story?
Yes.
Let me tell a story. I remember specifically and vividly when early in our marriage, when I wanted to make changes, and it felt so sporadic. Like I would get, I don't know, I'd hear a great
All motivated
speech or
and
read a great
inspired.
book, and man, I was fired up, and I'm doing this. I'm getting up early. I'm hitting my things, and I'm going to be like that. And I would get so excited and so determined, and it would only last for a few days or a couple weeks, and then whatever, like crazy things would happen. We'd have a couple of kids stay up, be up sick at night for a couple of days in a row, and then the house falls apart and all my good plans fall apart and everything's going on, or I get sick or whatever. And then on the other side of it, you're like, okay, let's just get back into survival mode.
Well,
but then I would remember like, but wait a minute, I wanted to be so great.
I would even remember, just to interject here, I would remember just days or weeks later thinking, oh yeah, I was going to do that thing. It's like I had totally forgotten about it. Exactly. It never even crossed my mind again after I got so excited about it, because life happened and I completely forgot about that thing I wanted to do.
Same. I had that same experience. And then I would remember like, wait a minute, I was supposed to be working on this new great thing and this transformation in my life. So yes, Janine asked, can we start on this now, or we have to wait till May? That's why we're rolling out unofficially right now. So you can start on it, start get practice, get in it, start making this happen. So when we hit it officially, you guys already have an advantage.
Because, sorry, since you answered that question out, I'm going to finish a little more. Because while I'm planning to do a challenge every month, starting on the first of the month, in reality, you can start it whenever you want. And as long as you track for 28 days, you can still earn the badges that I haven't talked about yet, but I'm going to explain. You'll still be able to earn the badges just as long as you track for the 28 days. I'll have these trackers that are for, 28 days. And you just print it out and you track it. And then you take a picture of it to prove that you did that, and that's how you earn the badge.
And anyone can jump in this at any time. And each
Jump in.
month, can jump in, and each month will be kind of independent. So you can always make progress. But I want to continue with my story. I remember when I finally made real, palpable, consistent progress was when I nailed my small daily habits. It was these seemingly insignificant daily practices that eventually made the greatest transformation in my life. I do not know how to emphasize that enough. I can look back at my life and I attribute every good thing in our life right now, and we are living our dream life. And we've been married for 22 years. We have 7 amazing kids who are doing incredible things. And we're literally out here living our dream. We're right now in Turkey. And I can attribute God, man, I don't know how to emphasize this enough. Like, this is me shouting. Every good thing in our life, I can attribute back to small daily practices that finally made the difference. That is what we're sharing with you. Saying if you want the big transformation, and you're probably like me, like, no, I want it, and I want it right now. Like, let's go. And I'm telling you from our experience and from all the people we've been able to work with, these small daily practices will bring the biggest results in the shortest amount of time. It's incredible. And I work with clients. In fact, there's some people in this group whose lives have been radically transformed in the last 6 months. Like, let that sink in. Like, huge transformation. This stuff just works. And we're going to make it fun. And we're going to have some accountability in there. And we're going to have some rewards in there. And we're going to build this community element where we're supporting and cheering each other on and sharing our challenges and obstacles and asking questions, where we're going to do this together to create the family life that you dream of.
So, yes, that was awesome. Laura says, you both suggest a lot of books. Will specific reading be built into the course? This is my college professor self speaking. So to answer that question, with this whole idea of trying to lay everything out and make it as simple as possible, I am literally providing links to all of the resources I suggest. So I'm like, well, I'll show you. But the answer is yes, I will be providing that. So part of the morning routine that you'll be developing, or daily routine, will include reading from an inspiring book. Our little paper here is so cute.
Complete
Reading
with a lady in pink leggings.
Read from an inspiring, it's backwards on there. Read from an inspiring book for at least 2 minutes, 5 times per week. Okay, this was actually something I wanted to talk about for a minute, because back to what you were saying, we're not trying to add more and give you all this extra responsibility, all this extra stuff you have to do. I'm making it so easy because, despite what Laura says here, what, Greg, you've never let us have baby steps. This is one of the things that we have realized that is necessary. And that's the 2-minute rule. Now, you might be thinking, how is reading from a book for 2 minutes supposed to help me? Or how is exercising for 2 minutes supposed to help me? Or, whatever, meditating, stillness for 2 minutes a day. These are all things on here. And this is why it's the level 1 for you. You meaning the foundation, right? Right here. Because the reason why we have a 2-minute rule with this is because often the reason you don't do something you should do on a daily basis is because you think, I don't have time to do that. or I don't have the energy to do it. But if you have a 2-minute rule and you commit to that, any one of us, I don't care how busy you are, you can exercise for 2 minutes. That can be anything, like touch your toes, run in place, a couple of jumping jacks, whatever. You can do that for 2 minutes, and you can read from a book from 2 minutes. If you did all of these things, it'd be like 10 minutes, maybe. But what you're doing that's even more important is you are creating the identity of being the kind of person who reads from a book every day and being the kind of person who moves their body every day. So this level here is all about, first of all, the top part, making and keeping small commitments to yourself. You're making a commitment to do these things for 2 minutes, and then you're keeping that commitment because you have no excuse not to. You really don't. That right there is power. And that's why that's the very bottom of this pyramid. In fact, I'm actually going to edit this, and I'm going to add 3 levels in here for each one. The very bottom of this level is what I have outlined right here on this. To be able to make and keep these small commitments to yourself by doing something for 2 minutes every day. Now, once you can do that consistently for 28 days, now you're ready to go to the next level and add to that and make it more challenging and, do different things. But this is key. So many of you who have been stuck and who can't make forward progress, this is the reason why. Because more important than the thing you do, saying, working out for 30 minutes or whatever, these bigger challenges is the fact that you can't make and keep the small commitment. And that's where it begins. And part of the roadblock is because it's too big of a commitment to start with. And so you don't commit it, you don't keep it because you think you don't have time or whatever else.
Okay, I got another story to share. And this comes up, you guys, I get to work with clients that are massively successful in a lot of ways. They've achieved huge things, already have so many of the things in life they want. But what's fascinating to me is even people who've achieved, millions of dollars or phenomenal health or, great achievements, big families, whatever it is, they'll go through some time period where they just fall off the tracks. And I had a coaching session just like this recently, where things were going so well, dialed in, everything happened, and then they fell off the tracks because they were working with a company overseas, and the time change was so off. So they were having to do business deals at 2 or 3 a.m. And it happened for a while, and then they got blah, 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 and it just didn't happen. And so then they dropped, and this is super significant. Things got thrown off, so you can get sick, you go on a vacation, something happens, whatever, life just gets crazy. And so instead of doing the small and simple daily habits to stay on track, to stay centered and grounded, they're like, I don't have time, I can't do it. And they dump the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So my coaching session literally was that. Like, hey, you didn't have 2 minutes to do some push-ups and some jumping jacks? You didn't have 2 minutes to read from a good book? You didn't have 2 minutes just to be still? To do some reading or some breathing and just to reset and re-engage? And of course the answer was, yeah, I did. I didn't because I didn't think I had time. So somebody who was doing 30 minutes of reading and 45 minutes of working out and 30 minutes of meditating or yoga or whatever, they just like, I couldn't do it. So they dropped the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So the 2-minute rule is for, at least in my mind, the way I see it, it's worst day scenario. Mm-hmm. And then on a good day, you're like, I'll blow way past that. But guess what? I still get to mark it all off because I did at least my 2 minutes and I went farther. So you can go at your own pace, but we're setting a bare minimum standard for your worst days.
Because what you're doing when you do that is you're establishing this way of being. It's the way you do life. And so one of the things that we look back on with our own life and how we've been able to create and maintain success is practices like this. We have our routines, and on our worst case scenarios, worst case scenario, you miss. That's okay. That happens. But if you miss more than 2 or 3 days in a row, now you're in trouble because now you're on the path of creating the habit of not doing these things. So what you do to get back on track is to default to the 2-minute rule. So like this question coming in here, do we do it for 2 minutes for 28 days? And then the next 28 days is a different time? Well, kind of, yes, except that the 2-minute rule will actually be the foundation forever.
So it's the absolute bare minimum.
Anytime you're feeling off, overwhelmed, stressed, you've had a baby, whatever, you've moved, because that's what's happening most of the time. You guys are getting into good habits and then something happens, which it does, and you get thrown off. Well,
specifically, like Katie, you and your family just moved, and we talked about that in the move process. It's chaos. It's mayhem. All the good systems and strategies you had in place, they all are out the window with the chaos. So that's where we come back to like, okay, wait a minute. In order to maintain sanity and to get back on, we have a minimum standard of 2 minutes.
Right. This is how you regain momentum. This is how you maintain sanity and stability, by having the 2-minute minimum as just a foundation in your life for the rest of your life. And that's why we start with this level, in getting into the habit of being able to do it. So you can realize no matter what, I can do this. Now, here's how I'm going to prove it to you. I'm also going to be starting this. I think I'm going to wait till May 1st. Actually, I might start next week. And I'm going to be doing this while we travel we're here on the Mediterranean coast of Turkey. We're going to go to Cappadocia for 2 weeks. Then we're going to Istanbul for 7 days. And then we're flying to Egypt.
Secret location.
For 2 weeks. And then we're flying to Portugal. And I'm going to keep up on this chart the whole time, just to show you it can be done.
Even in all the craziness, this can be done.
So
show them the course.
I'm going to show you a sneak peek of what I'm creating in the back end of the course, besides the sneak peeks you've been seeing here. And then I'm going to talk about the badges. So let me do that first. Share screen. Which one do I share? Just the desktop?
No. It's going to be, is it Instant Party? Yeah, play that one.
And let's see, right there.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the back end. You currently do not have access to this because it's not published yet, but I'm going to be publishing it. Now, I do already have access to some of the habit trackers in other parts of the course. So if you want to start sooner, you can email me, support@extraordinaryfamilylife.com, and I will send you a link to the tracker so you can start. But essentially, this is going to be walking you through literally step by step. So you start here. It has the fun little pop-ups with sounds that I love. Greg's not so sure, but I love them. And it's going to walk you through exactly what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. You know, the steps are, here we are. Here are the prep steps you need to take. These are the steps to prepare for taking. So I'm realizing that even when the challenge starts, you have to take preparatory steps to get ready. First of all, you have to have a habit tracker. Now, while I am, talking about this habit tracker, I also realize that really the habit tracker you use does not matter as much as just tracking the habits. So what I want you to do, actually, I'll talk about the habit trackers in a moment, and I'll explain that. But so first of all, we go through these different steps. Then you have to add the actual habits to the habit tracker. And I'm actually going to tell you exactly the habits to add. Previously, when we did the 28-day challenges, we let people choose, and that worked great. They still got results. But if you want to build this foundation step by step, level by level, this is the order I'm going to be recommending. Then I'm going to talk about setting the stage, which is essentially something called environment design, where how you set up the environment around you is going to directly impact the habits that you keep. That's another key area where people fail, is they don't set up their environment to support their success. And so they think, oh, I'm going to eat healthy and, do no sugar for 28 days. But we have Oreos in the cupboard. I don't know why we love to use Oreos all the time. I don't even like Oreos, but that's our go-to junk food.
Not for us that we eat. That's
not for us. It's just the one we talk about all the time. You have some sort of junk food in your house. And so your environment, your pantry and fridge are literally sabotaging your success. So I'm going to talk about that, environment design. Then I'm also going to talk about habit stacking. Another key to keeping good habits is to stack it. So if you have something you already do, like brushing your teeth or going to the bathroom, right? That's something you do. You stack a habit with that. When I go to the bathroom, I'm going to drink a glass of water. That's it. That's an easy example of habit stacking, because a good thing to do is to drink a glass of water every morning. And so you connect those habits. So I'm going to walk you through examples for stacking these habits with habits you might already be doing, right? So anyways, then, you go through there. When you click complete, it gives you a little woohoo, yay, and then you go on to the next step, and then it walks through this step here. Now, here is one of the things I'm talking about, is that you actually have links to resources that you don't have to use, but I've used them and I recommend them. And so, it's a good option. So like this, when you pick your habit tracker, you can I have an old habit tracker that has 2 weeks per sheet, right? Or one that's on 4 weeks on one sheet, it's blank, or the one that I've been showing you, which has, the printed out habits, or you can use a Google spreadsheet, or you can use these other apps. I really don't care what you use to track your habits, because again, the most important thing is that you track it, not that you use my printout, right? It's just that you get into the habit of tracking what you say you're going to do, because it's all about making and keeping those commitments to yourself. Anyways, this is just a little peek, and then you go on to the next one and ta-da, on you go, right? Sorry, I just love this. I'm like, yes, because I'm someone that loves to check things off. I love to I love Duolingo. I've done Duolingo for 948 days. You've done it for over 1,000. And that's one of the reasons why they gamify it. They, you mark it off, you get rewards. And so you keep doing it because you're getting these little dopamine hits, really is what you're doing, to keep moving forward. So this is just a quick look at, what we've got going on in here. So I think I'm going to now explain, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. It's a similar idea to the pyramid, but then I want to explain the badges. Now, unfortunately, because I'm in Turkey, I do not have examples of the badges yet. But what I do have in mind is I'm actually going to be ordering little pins. They're like lapel pins with little badges that I designed. So you'll earn a virtual badge. There's a whole program I have where you'll upload your habit tracker with a picture. And then once it's been verified by me or someone else, then you have earned the badge. And so you'll have a digital badge collection. But I'm also going to have little lapel pins. So you get the pin and I'll mail it to your house. And then I've found some shadow boxes that you can display all your little pins in until you get all the levels of the pins. And then the top badge. So after you go through all the levels, there's my little pyramid. And remember, I'm going to separate this. There will be 3 levels for each one. So it'll be level 1, 2, 3, level 1, 2, 3, and all the way to the end. Once you have done all of those levels, then you get the queen badge. And you are the queen of your extraordinary family life.
Woo!
So we'll have a whole little thing where you can display all the pins and all the little badges. And also when you get the queen badge, it's going to include a necklace, not this necklace, but I have one that's a labyrinth, and I'll actually talk a lot about the labyrinth in the course. So, be prepared and watch for that, because I'm going to talk about the significance of the labyrinth, and you'll get a labyrinth necklace when you get the queen badge. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Man, I'm excited about it. This is awesome.
Yes. Okay. So a couple questions. I started April 1st when you talked about it last time. Then I lost it. I like this 2 minutes. It's doable, I think, when everything else gets crazy.
Yep.
Yes. And that is the point, because guess what? We have learned, and we've learned for ourselves, and we've learned working with clients. Life is going to get crazy. It just is. And where most people fail is when it does get crazy, we get thrown off and we don't go back for a long time. But when we have the 2-minute rule, say you get thrown off for a day or two. Okay, that's fine. The next day you can get up and you can do things for 2 minutes. And then you're building that momentum again, because it's creating this identity. Like, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is how I am. Instead of, oh, well, I'm a victim to the forces of life and I have no control. And this is the secret. This is the power. When you learn that you actually have control over your life, even by doing something for 2 minutes every day because you said you would, that's when you start to have the power to actually create miracles. And I'm not even kidding. I look at my life often and I think my life is a miracle. It really is. I think I'm going to cry. My life is a miracle. I am sitting here in Turkey. There's a pool right here. I have this gorgeous view of the valley. We ride around on mopeds with our family. They're taking scuba diving certification lessons. It's a dream life. I could have never imagined that 10, 20 years ago. But simply by making and keeping small commitments to myself, I learned that I have control. And because I have control, I've been able to create miracles, literally. So this is where the power is. And when you can get this down, when you can prove to yourself that you do have this power, then you have the foundation to build upon until you do literally create the life of your dreams, a life you couldn't even imagine. I could have never imagined this. Who knows how many years ago? I would have never imagined that I was sitting in Turkey living this dream life. But yet here I am. And it was just step by step, small action by small action, over time, proving to myself that I have this power. Okay, so will this be a separate course from this, or is it embedded in the Extraordinary Family Life coaching courses? It will be included. What we're doing with our entire website and business is combining everything as much as possible. So pretty much everything that we've had available is now lumped together in one thing. And when you have a membership, you just get access to it all, which includes this. So it is included. If you are already a paying member, which you are, you're here, it's included. So yes. You don't have to talk about this right now, but maybe before you get off, I noticed that your schedule for the group coaching changed. It looks like once a month, mid-month. How is that going to work with the starting at the beginning of each month? So yeah, it has changed in the past, because we've been essentially going through this process of like, okay, how do we actually get more results? How do we get more progress? How do we get more accountability? And so we've been looking at how to do that, which is where all of this is coming from. So as far as the coaching goes now, yeah, we're going to kind of rethink how that works, because we want it to obviously support this entire process. So it's going to be the support group for doing all of these challenges. So I'm also not exactly sure what that's going to look like yet. Plus, we are going to be changing time zones until we get to Portugal. Once we get to Portugal in June, though, that will be our new time zone for the indefinite future. And so we'll be able to get a better schedule, because I know this time is not ideal. But it's the only time we can do while we're in Turkey because it's almost 9 p.m. here. So anyways, that will be to be determined further, and I'll have more forthcoming information, of course. Sounds so fun. The physical token idea is awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Out of curiosity, do y'all have your kids do this? So
Something
I
very
would
similar.
say,
In fact, on our fridge right now, we have something that the little ones can mark off.
right. So I would say it's not that our kids are doing this exact thing, right? But essentially, we're teaching these principles. So we do teach them to do these basic things. We are teaching them to exercise because we exercise and they often exercise with us. You know, my 6-year-old was exercising with me yesterday morning. We obviously, all of us read from inspiring books. What's great about it is because we have taught our older kids to do this. And now that they are teenagers, pretty much our teenagers have schedules like these. They have routines like this. And so just the other day, my 17-year-old, who's almost 18, was telling my 12-year-old, who's almost 13, that he needs to add these things to his morning routines. He's like, you need to add reading scriptures. You need to add a book that's not just for fun. So he's telling him, right? And I'm just like, yep, that sounds good. You should do that, right? We have laid that foundation and now they're passing it on to their siblings. So yeah, they're doing these things.
But we have some form of tracking system for all of the kids, and they're following them at their level. And they're always including, just because we started doing this from the very get-go. So all of our kids have a tracking system and they have these fundamental things that they check off and do all the time. Even our 2 oldest ones that have moved out, they're still going through the
making the list,
pattern, the practice of checking things off the list that are fundamentally good for making life awesome.
Yeah. And a couple of the apps that are in there that I showed you briefly are some of the apps our kids are currently using or have used in the past for tracking things. And most of them I've used or tried before. Could you include your kids and teen charts in the resources for us in this so we can mirror them for our children? Yes. So I do have included in this now is the family charts and systems course that I've created. And in there, it has all of the charts that I have ever used, essentially. Well, you could grab that one too. I will continue to be adding to that because here's the thing about doing charts, especially with kids, is that it's kind of this ongoing. Well, think about it this way. On your phone or your computer, you have to constantly be updating the software or the apps because they stop working. Charts are kind of like that with your kids. You have to keep updating them for them to keep working. So there's lots of charts in there and I keep updating mine and then I add them when I update, right? So I will keep doing that as well. I'll keep adding my updates or my current systems. So like for right now, for example, for my older children's, anyone who's over the age of, my 12-year-old is not doing it. So the older kids above that, for their studies, they're using a system called Syllabird. And I have the whole, like all of their assignments they're supposed to do and everything. And that's what they log on to every day. And that's digital to just click off all of their studies. For my younger girls currently right now.
I want to interject real quick. One of the things that you're probably going to want to add to your habit tracker is tracking your kids' charts, right? Just because so many moms come back and like, oh, we started the system, we set it up, but we just didn't follow through. We created all this charts, it was amazing, and we didn't follow through. So including that on your 28-day habit tracker to follow up with your kids is going to be huge. And again, the 2-minute rule. You don't have to go through this huge thing. Just can you take 2 minutes to see how your kids are doing on their charts? It's super powerful.
Now, that being said, if you want to add it now, you can, but you don't need to. I will be adding that under the parenting section. So again, you need to remember there's lots and lots of things you can do. I don't want you to do too much because then you won't do anything. Sometimes that's what happens. We try to do too much and then we don't do anything. So if you want to add, and in fact, this is the rule I would say is going to apply for all the 28-day challenges. If you want to add more than what I have required, you're welcome to do that. But if you find yourself overwhelmed and stressed, drop everything and go back to this and just do that. That's how you'll earn the badges. And this is what works to create the foundation to build on so that later, because here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this more in a minute. You right here are the center. You are the foundation. If you're not strong, your family is not strong. If you're struggling, your family is struggling. So when you're struggling, you have to go back to you. You have to go back to building this foundation. So if you want to get your kids to do charts and stuff, but you can't do charts, you're doing it out of order. You have to be able to do the chart yourself. So that's more important than getting your kids to do their charts. Does that make sense? Anytime I've wanted to make a change in my family, I start by making the change with me. If I want my kids to do something and I'm not doing it, I start with me doing it. I make myself a chart and I do it. And then I actually have something to say to my kids about, hey, you should do this thing. That's where I always begin. So you have to go back to the foundation. You have to go back to the basics. And that's you being able to do these things.
Woo, man, I just want to applaud and like jump up and down. That was awesome.
Okay, wait. She said a couple more things. Is there any way we can get them edible? Yes, they are all in there and they are all editable. Now
Not
I have
edible.
Sorry,
They're
not eatable. They're not eatable. They're editable. I have examples and then I have, so like there's lessons, you know, in the little course. One of them will be the example and then the next one will be the one you can edit. I tried to use some of yours before, but for example, your cleaning chart didn't work. Oh, because we have different rooms than you do that we need to clean. Okay, you're right. I think that one cleaning chart wasn't editable. So if there's some that are in there that aren't editable, then let me know and I will make them editable. Is that even how you say it? It sounds so. Can you put that in the chat? Syllabird, yes. Okay.
So I'll give an example. We're here in this specific villa up in the mountains overlooking the Mediterranean, and we're here for a month and we're traveling pretty light. And so we didn't bring all of our charts and systems, but we still do our studies. We still do our habits. Everywhere we are, however we live, whether we're living in a camper or on a sailboat or in the mountains or on a beach, wherever we go, whatever we do, we still do our daily habits and practices because we know without a doubt how powerful they are. So we get here and the little girls were kind of like, what should we do? What should we work on? How do we do our things? And so Rachel created this chart with them. And this is just a simple example
that I literally made by hand because I don't have a printer.
Yeah, we don't have a printer here. We don't have anything fancy. So I'm just trying to get in focus here. So they just created something awesome. And the girls, it's on the fridge and the little girls, they mark it off and they get so excited and they do their studies and they do go through their habits. And we're teaching them from a young age that this is how you do life successfully. This leads to happiness and health and wealth and just an amazing life. You get up and you go through joyfully doing things that are good for you. And they love it.
Well, and sometimes if they're not joyfully, you still do them because they need to be done. And so the idea behind this is what you're trying to do, what we're trying to do with this even, is we're putting, a chart is really just this ideal. It's a goal, it's a vision, it's a physical representation of what you're trying to accomplish. And what was happening before is that the girls have all of the kids have their curriculum on their device, but they can't see it. And especially for the young ones, or when you're trying to establish a habit, you need to see it. You need to be reminded of what you're working on. You need to be reminded of what the goal is. So this makes it visual. It makes it physical. It adds tactile movement and all kinds of stuff. And they actually can see what they're trying to do. Where before it just kind of feels like, well, what am I doing? I'm just getting on and, watching these videos every day. What does that mean? But when they actually see what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go, they're trying to, in this case, graduate from second grade. I'm trying to do all of these so I can finish this and move on. That's what we're trying to do with ourselves. And that's what eventually we'll do with our kids, is we're creating a visual representation of what we're going after, which then becomes a part of how we do life. So then we're like, what do I do today? What do I work on? Oh, this is what I work on, because it's helping me reach my goal. It's helping me get what I want, right?
Which means, just a reminder, it has to be relevant. It has to be relevant. It has to mean something. It has to count. It has to be valuable. If it's arbitrary or just checking the boxes just because, it'll fail every time.
So I think I did show you kind of briefly, but you probably didn't see it all. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the 6 habits are for level 1, so that if you want to start now, or if you want to start on the 1st, you can do that. But first, I just want to emphasize this again, because I think this is another way of representing what we're talking about, because we've shown you the pyramid, that you're the foundation, you're what your family is built on. This is just another way of representing it for me. And essentially, you are at the center. Now, this isn't meant to be like some narcissistic viewpoint, right? Like, I am the center of my family life. This is where the strength lies. And often, and I know for me, especially at first, this was crushing or overwhelming or depressing, maybe, to think that I was bearing the burden of my family life, that I had to be, I used to think I have to be perfect. Well, it's not about that, but it is about being whole and being centered, so that you can build you can grow and develop a solid family around that. So, in combination with this is essentially what we're trying to do. We're building a foundation. We're creating wholeness and centeredness in ourselves, because when we do that, then we have the power to create the life that we want. Until we do that, we can't. We are it. We're everything. And that doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be crushing. In fact, it can be empowering. It can be exciting. It can be the greatest adventure of your life. It can be the greatest joy of your life. This work right here is as exciting, as powerful, as empowering as any executive career or any other thing in the world that people think is worth pursuing. This right here is it. You could spend the rest of your life becoming the CEO of your own home and family and do a badass job at it and live the amazing life of your dreams, because it all rests on you. Now, the amazing thing is that I'm going to give you the tools to do it. Literally, I'm going to hand you everything I have learned, everything I have achieved, everything I've done. I'm giving it to you. All the paper, all the printouts, all the checklists, everything. So that you can just take it and just follow it step by step and build level by level until you literally can create the family life of your dreams, whatever that looks like, and even beyond what you're currently capable of imagining, because trust me, that's where I am, beyond what I ever imagined when we got married 22 years ago. Like, our life is so vastly different than anything we pictured, and it's way better than anything I could have pictured. And it's happened only because we've literally walked through this process that I'm going to lay out for you. So get excited.
That's what I was gonna say. Let's turn on the music and dance.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Seriously. Okay, so there's the question, and then I will give you the 6 habits. And if you want the printout, just email me and I'll just email you the printout, but I'll just list them out here anyways. I'm curious, from starting this to the point where you felt like you were out of chaos and actually living the extraordinary life. How long did it take? I know it's a process, but at some point you reach a turning point.
Yep.
What is realistic? So one of the things Greg has often said that I think is so true is you cannot, well, I hope I remember, you can't change destinations overnight, but you can change direction. At any moment, you can change the direction of where you're going. You can move from going into more chaos to going into more order. So essentially, that turning point you're talking about
Can be immediate.
happens the moment you start doing that. And I know that what we want is those results down the line, but really it happens when we make that switch, when we make that turn. And then it's like it's this ever growing and developing process. You never reach it. You never reach the destination, because guess what? Maybe this seems terrifying, but the goalpost keeps moving, and that's a good thing. Our current goals are way beyond what we would have ever imagined, but
our current achievements
are way beyond what we
ever imagined.
had imagined. But the point is, that's what actually gives life meaning. It's not reaching the goal that makes you feel amazing. It's having goals you're pursuing that makes you feel amazing. So once you begin to enjoy the process of creating this change, that's actually when you start to feel what you're talking about. And you can do that anytime. You don't have to wait to begin to enjoy the process. And in reality, this seems kind of ironic. I think it's a constant, ongoing, daily practice to keep out the chaos and bring in the order. It's not like I have less chaos now because I'm a wizard. I don't know. It's not because I'm magic. I have more order because I've learned to balance chaos and order in an effective way. It's something I have to do every single day, because if I stop doing these things, I would circle into chaos.
Right back into chaos.
None of us are immune.
Yep.
At any time, we can destroy ourselves.
Yeah. And I think it's really important, like she was pointing out earlier, that you are the foundation and you are at the center of all of this, because it doesn't matter what you try to pull together until you can settle the chaos in your head and in your heart. It's always going to just be in the outside. It's always going to be there until you get it here. And that is it's precisely what this 28-day challenge does. Is it just starts settling things from the inside out, starting with, you know what? I make and keep commitments. I do the things I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do them. And it starts bringing this order in, and you start feeling the difference immediately. And that shift changes direction overnight. And then what happens is the transformations start coming so much quicker than you realize. Now, if you've tried this before, and a lot of you have, you've attempted things, I've tried this and I've tried that. So irritating, so frustrating. I keep trying. What was happening most likely is that like something was off. It was a lot of effort, and we applaud the effort, but the system has to be in place. And with the right system and the right effort in the right direction, that's why we're doing this now. Rachel's building out step by step, then it just is going to flow instead of circling back in these little patterns of self-sabotage.
Well, and along with that idea, something that we have to remember is that today's results are the result of past choices, thoughts, beliefs, and actions. Now, the challenge is once we make this turn, we change direction, that those past choices, those past decisions continue to follow us for a period of time, because we can't just eliminate and get rid of all the consequences right away.
Life operates on a lag.
Yes. So decisions you make today are not going to fully show up for who knows how long, week, month, sometimes for some things. And this isn't what we like to hear. It can take a year or longer for the past decisions we've made to finally change and shift so that we are getting the new results. That's where a lot of people fail, is because they think, oh, I should get these results right away. I should be seeing something different. Now, sometimes it's just that, oh, you've got to tweak that. You were doing it, but not, it's like working out, but not actually working out, and we get to that. First, we develop the habit, and then we do workouts that are actually workouts, right? But you have to keep making the progress. You have to stick to your commitments. You have to keep doing it for 2 minutes. So you become that person, so that then you can start seeing permanently in your life the things you want, instead of reverting back to the chaos. Now, back to this idea of what we're trying to do is bring order to your mind, emotions, spirit, all of that. Because then what you can do when you get control here, which then begins to manifest in control in your schedule, right? By even doing something for 2 minutes. When you do something for 2 minutes because you said you're going to do it, you're proving to yourself and God in the universe that you are in control of your time in your life. And when you are able to start doing that, then you're able to bring this power of control and this power of exerting, you're acting instead of being acted upon. You're an actor instead of a victim. When you're able to do that, now you're able to bring that self to the rest of your life to solve problems, to bring order. It's like you become this being of order that now brings order to chaos instead of being a victim to chaos. Does that make sense?
Or a cause.
Or a cause of chaos. Exactly.
Too often we're a part of the problem, consciously or unconsciously. So you want to be a problem solver. And then as you start getting there, but here, like Rachel's saying, then you just become this force of nature in your life and the people around you. And you just start solving problems and bringing order and creating miracles like she was talking about. It's incredible. And it's not as far off as you think it is. It's just following a simple formula that just works. Small daily practices.
So, I don't know if that totally answers the question, because it would be great for all of us to be like, oh, yeah, a week and you're good to go. But the truth is, we all have to do the work. And none of us have the same work to do, because we're all different. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different histories. We all have different baggage. We all have different issues. We're all different. So you have to do the work, and everyone's work is going to look different. But when you go through the process and do the work, that's the easy part. The easy part is this is the work. As you go through and do it, that's when you begin to confront the obstacles that have been holding you back. And that's when you get the opportunity to, use the tools I'll be teaching you to process, to release, to overcome, to remove the roadblocks and all of the clutter that has been cluttering your runway so that you can finally start taking off. Because like Laura's question here, the problem most of us have, and this has happened time and time again with Greg's coaching clients, they come to him and they're like, I really want to grow this business, or I really want to have a better relationship with my husband, or I really want to have more influence with my kids. And so he starts getting in. And of course, we always start with where they want to start. But inevitably, we come back to this because he'll say, well, you can't do that because you're trying to take off with this plane and your runway is cluttered with all of this crap. You can't get enough speed. So we have to back way up. We have to go back to the foundation and we have to start clearing the runway so that you can actually get enough speed to take off. That's why you haven't yet been able to do whatever it is you want to do, is because your runway is cluttered with stuff that needs to be cleared. And we begin clearing it with my charts that I keep showing you right here. So I am going to go ahead and give you these 6 habits.
Wait, can I share? Let me share a couple
Just
stories.
kidding. We're not.
I just want to share a couple stories to give you a vision of where we're going. Once you start establishing this way of being, it becomes a superpower. And you can unlock things and get things done that you didn't think you could get done. And I've done this time and time and time again with my clients, where things that had been bothering them for years or decades, we took care of in weeks or months. Legitimately. And it felt like a miracle. I've helped clients who were literally overweight their entire adult lives. Within several weeks, get back to where the health and fitness and weight they were in high school. I remember one client, she had inherited her parents' hoarding mess. Massive storage units that they hadn't seen the back of the storage unit in years. And we walked through because it was cluttering the runway from other things you want to do. So I'm like, hey, get all your family, friends, whoever you need to do, take a Saturday, empty that sucker. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, let's go. Boom, they did it. Then they did the next one. Then they brought order here. It was unbelievable. Within a few weeks, we had cleared so much of this runway that had been cluttered for years. And you get thinking, it's like, but it's been this way for years. It'll take so long to change it. Well, once you're ready, once you have the foundations in place, once you
momentum,
have the momentum, and you have this commitment of like, no, I do what I say I'm going to do, you can bring order to the most chaotic mess. Some of you have a garage that looks like that, or a whole house that's like that. And no joke, in a Saturday, you could eliminate the vast majority of your problems that have been gathering for years. If you wanted to drop 20 pounds and you're ready to do exactly what I tell you to do, you could easily lose half a pound a day in a healthy, good way. Feel fantastic. Let that sink in. 6 weeks from now, you could be 20 pounds lighter. That's like you're a new person. One of my coaching clients, his wife has lost 150 pounds. They are transformed.
Well,
they look different. They feel different. They are living differently. It's unbelievable.
What I love about that story is that you're coaching him and he's making changes, and he was the tide and she got on board and she lost that much weight just because he was making changes. He had better habits. He had better routines, and it carried over, and it just carried her with it. That's the amazing part for me. So this whole idea that you're talking about of this way of being where you're able to bring it to life and you're able to solve problems. This is kind of, maybe a silly story, but I think it's a good example of it, of how it works in small ways, not just big ways. Like, and that's yesterday. Here we are in this Airbnb, right? It's an Airbnb that we rented for the month. And I'd made dinner. I made curry that I just made up because I did that. And
It was a very proud moment.
it was a proud moment. I made
Amazing curry from scratch.
And we're sitting around the table eating it. Now this living room area is not that big for 7 of us. And it's kind of tight. There's not enough space. And my 9-year-old went over to get more curry and she knocked, the stove is also weird. It's like this pot balances on the top. And she went to go get more curry and knocked the pot off, a bright yellow turmeric curry. And my 12-year-old ran over and he kind of tried to catch the pot, but didn't quite. He saved it mostly, but it splattered yellow curry everywhere over there in the corner, right? And Greg and I stood up and we walked over there and my 17-year-old joined us and we just started cleaning up. That's it. There was no reaction, no response, nothing. It was an accident, nothing to be done about it. So we just immediately started wiping down the walls so they didn't get stained from turmeric and cleaning up everything. We literally cleaned it so well, you can't even tell there was a spill. Because our minds now go to problem solving. We bring order. Chaos happened, we bring order to it.
Without reaction.
With no reaction. I didn't even feel anything. I just thought, oh, let's go clean it up. Because that's the only real answer, right? So it's this way of being that brings solutions to your problems. And it comes by learning that you have control, which comes back to making and keeping small commitments to yourself. That's where it begins. I would have never been able to have had that reaction 10, 20 years ago. There's no way. First of all, I would have not even thought it was possible to clean up the mess. It was so messy. I would have thought, we can't even clean this. It's just too much.
The house
It's ruined.
is ruined.
Ah. And that right there would have perpetuated the problem. Instead of like, okay, let's immediately clean it. Obviously, faster is better, so it doesn't ruin the wall. But when you learn that you have control and that you can bring solutions, no matter what problem comes up, then you just find solutions. And that's what you do. You solve problems and you bring order and you find solutions. And that becomes your way of being. Now, it doesn't mean that your problems go away. It doesn't mean your challenges go away. You still have them, but you have more power over them because you're not a victim to life. You are, what's the other? You're a victor. You're an actor. Like, you act instead of being acted upon. Okay. I've done this whole meeting on my treadmill.
Nice.
But your process is way more intense. I hope you'll share that process with this group at some point.
I will. Honestly, most of it's going to happen in the kitchen.
Yes.
Well, the vast majority of your health and your transformation will happen right in your kitchen. So
actually at the grocery store.
That's
first.
true. It starts at the grocery store and finishes in your kitchen. And it's actually quite a simple process, but it literally comes down to what we're talking about. You say you're going to only eat those things, and you do. And that's it. And it's making, keeping commitments. And when you become that person, then everything else in your life aligns with being that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. It's so powerful.
Okay, here are the habits. And then if you have any questions, we'll answer them. If not, we'll just be done for tonight. And I will be emailing with more information as I have it. Okay, the 6 habits that you will be tracking for, this is you level 1. Make and keep small commitments to yourself. Now, what this means is you're going to have the habit tracker and you're going to track your habits And that is one of the habits you're tracking. I'm actually making and keeping small commitments to myself by marking my habit tracker every week. You don't necessarily have to mark it every day, but you need to do it every week. Your battery's going to die. Then the next one, exercise for at least 2 minutes. Remember the 2-minute rule. Now, if you already exercise and you already exercise for longer than that, fantastic, great. But at least 2 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week.
I gotta reiterate there. I have to come back and reiterate. This is especially helpful for your worst case days. When most of you, even those of you who have really good habits, you're like, oh, I can't do it. It's a terrible, no good, horrible day. I'm off. This helps you stop doing that.
Yes.
So when you have a bad day, you still be like, you know what? Yeah, this day was sucked, but guess what? I'm still keeping my commitment.
Exactly. And that feels good.
That is powerful.
That's empowering. And it's also helpful for those of you who may not like to exercise or haven't exercised. I have been that person for a long time. And this is what helped me make that transition by having the 2-minute rule. I'm like, oh, you know what? I know exercise is good. I know I need to do it. I can do it for 2 minutes. And once I establish that habit, even now I still do it. I'll be like, okay, 2 minutes, like just 2 minutes. And then inevitably it ends up being 15, 20, 30 minutes, right? But the 2 minutes is what gets me started, because often the reason we don't do it is because of inertia. It's hard to overcome that hump of getting started. But the 2 minutes helps us get started because we feel like it's an easy, quick end. But once we overcome it, we've actually overcome the hardest part, which is the inertia. Okay. The next one, eliminate unhealthy foods for at least 5 days a week. Now, in the challenge itself, the back end of the course, I have a list of what that includes. And I've put on there things like obviously sugar, soda. I put high fructose corn syrup and basically all corn products like that. I put seed oils, which many of us call vegetable oils, but they're not. Seed oils include
mostly canola
oil, soy oil, rapeseed oil. Basically every oil except olive oil and coconut oil are considered seed oils, and they're very toxic. So if you eliminated that one thing from your diet, it would be huge. Those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. If you want the list, you can email.
Primary causes of weight gain.
Yes. So even right here, like we're not yet to what Greg was talking about, but this is the first step. One of the very first steps to losing weight and to getting in better health is to begin by eliminating certain things from your diet. And I don't mean going on a diet. I mean your diet for life. I began this 20 years ago when I eliminated all high fructose corn syrup from anything we bought or ate. That's where I started. And then I would find out about something else that was unhealthy and I would eliminate that from our diet. And little by little, I just kept eliminating things until now we eat none of these things. And that's one of the greatest contributors to our health and well-being. It affects you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all these different ways. And so that's a little place where we can start. Okay, the fourth one, read from an inspiring book for at least 2 minutes, 5 times per week. So again, 2 minutes. Now you can also listen to an audiobook. That's fine too. I'll put on my audiobook while I'm washing the dishes or whatever, making breakfast. And that's part of my morning routine. And again, in the course, I have some books that I recommend, but some of them are As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, The 5 Major Pieces of the Life Puzzle by Jim Rohn, Gifts from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh, and that's all I can think right now. Oh, Majesty of Calmness by William George Jordan. Those are a few I recommend. Now, doing this from those specific types of books is very powerful. It will literally change your life. It will change the way you think. And if you do it in the morning, and it's even more powerful because it will help you think about it throughout the day. So if you read from the Majesty of Calmness before you interact with your children during the day, or even while you're trying to interact with your children, you interact in a different way because you just read about calmness. It's very powerful. Okay, the fifth thing. Get to bed 15 minutes earlier 5 nights per week. Now, I don't care what your bedtime is. I don't care if you go to bed at 1 a.m. You're going to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. Okay. Can you put the book list in the chat? Where should we start on the books? So honestly, any one of those books would work, but I would say 5 Major Pieces of the Life Puzzle. Anyone, I picked those ones specifically because they're all very powerful with the same type of ideas.
They are all transformative. So if it were me, I would buy all 5 of them. I'd have them there available on my nightstand or my table,
and maybe
wherever.
You pick and choose.
And when you wake up, you're like, I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna grab this one. And I feel like reading this or whatever. Just grab them. Those books will change your life, and have them available and have them out and share them with your kids and family. Like, get everybody in them and just read from one of those books until you've gone through all of them. And I promise you're going to start and be like, this is so good. And you're going to fly through it. And all of those books actually are small. Every one of them is short.
They're small books.
You could easily read all 5 of those in 1 month because they're so good and so short. But those books change lives.
But they're also the type of books that are good just to read for 2 minutes.
Yep, exactly.
And that's amazing because they're thoughtful, they're impactful, they're profound.
Yes.
So
any one of those books is a 2-minute book where you're like, 2 minutes. What can I get in 2 minutes from any one of those books? 2 minutes will give you a nugget of truth that can change your life.
Yes. And as far as I'm not going to type them in, but you can email me and I'll copy and paste you.
Well, aren't they in the?
They're on my computer.
But aren't they in the?
They are in there, but they don't have access yet.
Okay. Hit publish.
I'm
going to sneak in and hit publish tonight.
I'm working on it. Okay. Then the last one, practice at least 2 minutes of stillness daily. That can be meditation, that can be prayer, that could be breath work, whatever you define. Two minutes.
I would guess that some of you haven't had 2 minutes of stillness in a very long time. Some people just are running on crazy all the time. I know we've done that. And just to slow down and just be still is heavenly. And you moms need it because you got kids that are, kids. Crazy. Kids are crazy.
Now
so have stillness.
I'll mention this here, but eventually I'm going to add all of these techniques to the course. But one thing I do is on my reminders on my phone, I literally make a reminder that goes off 2 or 3 times a day that says, breathe. And when I see it, I just take a breath. And you can do that with lots of these things, to remind yourself, if that's a system that works for you. You set up the reminders that will come up on your phone and says, oh, do this, drink water, or read for 2 minutes, or whatever. And, that's one of the things I'll be working through of the best way to do that. And it will be something you'll need to experiment with. Greg is someone who likes to use alarms. I hate alarms because when they go off, I'm like, alarms. So I only set alarms for things that actually have a specific time. Like if I have a phone call at this specific time, I set an alarm. But otherwise, I use something like reminders that are a little more gentle. But you have to be able to. Part of making and keeping the commitments is if you're going to have reminders, you have to honor the reminders. So otherwise the reminders come up and there's just like tons and tons of reminders and you're like, So I either honor them and actually mark them off, or if I'm ignoring them, then I stop doing it and I delete them. I don't have them just keep reminding me for things I'm not actually doing. So every single day I look through my reminders and I do what I'm reminding myself to do. But that's a technique that we'll get into later. But, okay. Any questions that have not been answered yet? If not, this is the unofficial launch. and you are welcome
Yeah.
to get going. You are welcome anything you work on. So if you start now or next week or May 1st and you do it for 28 days and you turn it in, you have earned your first badge and you are on your way. So, yeah, this is it. And I'm excited. Thank you. I'm super excited about it too.
This
So.
is the beginning of your queendom.
Queendom. Right.
So exciting. I just want to say, well, how grateful we are for you. How proud of you we are. I mean, that may sound silly, but we're proud of you. Like, this is awesome. It's an awesome group of people who care
Mm-hmm.
and are trying to do great things. And I think you guys sense this from us, but for Rachel and for me, this is a part of our life's work. We are on a mission to support moms and dads and to support families. And we've spent decades of our lives figuring out what works and what doesn't. And we're sharing it with as many people as possible. In fact, and you can invite people to join too, friends, family, whoever you want to get in here. We're just going to grow this, and we're going to help as many people as possible create their own unique family life, whatever that looks like for them, but to have the principles and simple practices that just work.
But there's the fact that you're here, like Greg was saying, is huge because there are so many people that aren't even interested, that don't even care, that just, they're happy to drink their wine and watch their Netflix or what, and that's
Except
okay.
Then they call me.
Or they don't. There's plenty that don't too.
Well, but then I get to talk to them because I talk to everybody. And when we have a quiet, honest moment, they're hurting. You guys, the coaching sessions I've had this week would break your heart. So much pain and so much suffering. And all of it is absolutely unnecessary if we would simply follow these principles and practices.
I think I want to share this really quick, even though we're going to close, but back to this idea of why this is part of our life mission, because we know plenty of people, even in our own families, that are hurting and that are miserable. And it's so sad to us when we do think that with the right strategies, the right habits, the right principles applied, they don't have to be miserable. Nobody has to be miserable. We could all be happy if we live by the principles that work. And so, yeah, that is why we are so motivated, because we feel so blessed to have such a honestly incredible life, unbelievable in every way. And we have an obligation to share what we know that works so that other people can create it too. And yeah, that's what motivates us.
Awesome.
So,
okay.
Okay. One last question. When are the charts you're showing available? If you email me, I will send them to you. So yeah, right away. As far as when it's going to be published, hopefully soon. If Greg, especially if Greg sneaks in and publishes it. But no, hopefully soon. Hopefully by April 30th, because that's when we leave from this house. I would like to have it ready. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being awesome. Get excited. This is going to be good stuff. We're going to make some massive transformations. Okay. And send us questions. Let us know how we can help the most. The biggest obstacles, the biggest challenges, the things that are right in front of you. Help us know we can help.
Yep.
Okay. Love you guys. Reach upward.